So, Tony, tell me about your most recent. I saw on LinkedIn. You're a big LinkedIn guy. Actually, I want to start there because I don't see you on TikTok. I don't see you really spending much time on Facebook or Instagram. You've kind of gone all in to LinkedIn, correct? Why is that?
So I actually just Justin Welch is somebody that I follow and took one of his courses, and he said, "Hey, just try LinkedIn for 90 days. Post once a day for 90 days." I wasn't a big social media guy. I wasn't posting on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. And I was like, "You know what? Let's just go for it and see what happens." And I mean, it was pretty astounding just the traction. It's kind of that organic, it's still like organic Facebook back in the day where you'd make a post and you get lots of views and engagement. And so I did that for 90 days. And then I was like, you know what, let's just try two a day for 45 days, see how that goes. And I mean, I would just get people reaching out, hey, let's grab coffee. Hey, if anything pops up, like, hey, I'm interested in buying a property in Southwest Michigan. So, I mean, I've gotten clients from out of state, Utah, all pretty much from LinkedIn. So
It's
I love
always
it.
about consistency, right? And most people quit after like, oh, I posted for a week and I got no traction. You gotta do that full time frame. That's awesome. I see the engagement that you get. There's only honestly, there's like 3 people in your side of the world. Remember, the
Right.
VRMA side doesn't like me. But I Justin Ford, yourself, Steve Schwab, you got get like the most engagement on that. And, you did it right. And the same thing works for Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. You just got to be consistent, but you're also posting real. I see your content every day. I'm not a big LinkedIn guy, but I get the notification. I'll take a look at it. And I was really interested in following your journey on your motel because I'm actually under contract for a motel in New Orleans right now. And you do a great job.
Thank you. And I would also say just on LinkedIn, I mean, it's like super easy to carve out your niche, right? Because there's not a lot of people posting on there. It's a little, I would say, a little more stuffy over there. A lot of business professionals, everybody's nervous to post because they don't want, their employer to, see what they're posting or ruffle any feathers that way. So it's super easy to go on LinkedIn, carve out your niche. For me, it's the hey, I'm the Michigan short-term rentals guy. And it's easy to stand out because one, there's not a ton of people posting about short-term rentals on LinkedIn in general, but I'm probably the only person posting on Michigan short-term rentals and sharing, just awesome stuff about Michigan and what's going on in Michigan.
I
So
don't
it's
even see the Carwells like touching, LinkedIn at all. They're like
oh,
all
they don't, yeah, I don't think they post on LinkedIn. So I'm the only one on LinkedIn for
That's awesome. I
Michigan.
love it. I commend you because I love doing things that everybody else isn't doing. Those of you that are listening at home or wherever driving down the road, don't just jump into LinkedIn and treat it like Facebook. It's a different platform. The structure needs to be different. I see a lot of people, and you nailed this probably because you took the course. They just post their like Instagram or TikTok reels on LinkedIn and they get zero engagement.
Yeah.
It's like an image or a carousel and very long format posting in short, like 1 to 2 sentence, how you're writing your copy. You're doing a great job with it, so I commend you.
I would say LinkedIn, quick tip. I mean, it is very text based. I've tried doing the videos and videos for some reason, I think they're making a push towards it. But what I love, you're great on video, you're a great speaker, all that stuff. For those of us that maybe aren't so good behind the camera or behind the microphone, text based, LinkedIn loves text based posts. So made it really easy to be consistent on that.
You are spot on. You know why I'm not on LinkedIn. Do you subscribe to my email?
I do subscribe to your email.
Yeah, if you are one of the grammar police, you will understand because I'm usually at 4 a.m. like this in the dark, and I don't proofread or anything. And Chris and my team just get so pissed off at me when I do that. But I'm like, dude, I'll take speed any day over perfect grammar. But you got to have good grammar. You got to have the right structure on LinkedIn to get the engagement. Well, I just wanted to bring that up and commend you because you are 100% correct. I don't see anybody else. Justin Ford is on there quite a bit on LinkedIn. He uses that platform well. If you guys don't know who Justin Ford is, he's the safety guy from Breezeway. And then the flip side of that is like Schwab, right? So like he just commented on a couple of mine this morning, and then we just started a quick engagement. But he's the big guy now. Well, he was big at Casago. Now he's got Vacasa, but he doesn't post much. But he is very active in commenting on a lot of posts that are out there, which you typically don't see from a CEO of a company of that large in any industry, let alone ours. So, I mean, great job. And I'm sure the lead generation and just relationship building has been extremely beneficial with that.
100%.
So let's transition into your I don't know if it's your most recent acquisition, at least what I've followed is your new motel. Tell me about your new motel, kind of why did you decide to go down that route, first of all?
Absolutely. And so why we decided to do it was we bought a 5 unit. I think I told you about that when I was down in Tennessee, bought a 5 unit. And what we would do is we'd basically block out all the individual units outside of 45, 60 days, and you only can rent the big property. And so we'd have this big, monster listing, and it's kind of a one of one because not a lot of people can host that many people. So we almost didn't even have to take it to the nine like you do. We did good, but we don't have to add all these amenities because there's very few people that have that size property in that area. So we did that. Super happy with the results on that. And then we actually partnered. I don't know if I ever told you, we partnered with some people that we met at your conference.
Whoa, whoa, hold on, hold on. Remember, I'm supposed to get a commission on that. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kidding.
right, right. Well, it's funny. So me and my wife went down to the conference. I think it was 2021, 2022, and we talked to these guys the whole time. Like we'd bump into them every day, talk to them for a little bit, and then we came back here and we found this 5 unit property. There's like 4 cabins in on 3 acres, and we needed cash. It was a cash purchase. So I actually just shot these guys a text, got them on the phone, and said, "Hey, we need somebody to buy half of it cash." And they're like, "Hey, we're in." So we bought that, and the purchase price was pretty low. And I mean, the amount of rent that you could get on that property was incredible. So now our mindset is smaller, mid-size, multi-unit properties that we can book out to entire groups is what we're looking to prove out. And then lo and behold, you have these smaller motels that you can get at a real discount. Like where else could you get like a 8 or 9 bedroom with 10 baths at this purchase price? If it was a single family home, I mean, you're going to pay 4 or 5 times more than that. So that's what we're trying to prove out on the motel. In a perfect world, we wouldn't rent individual rooms. We'd only rent it to big groups.
And how is that going so far? Like for summer that's upcoming?
Well, you know how it goes. I mean, well, you're actually pretty good at getting stuff done and making sure that you hit the deadline. But our deadline for the rehab has actually gone a couple months over. So right now we're still we don't have the whole property available. We have the manager's quarters still in the works, so we don't have that main listing ready to go yet,
So is
unfortunately.
that manager's quarters inside of the 5 rooms or outside of the 5 rooms?
So there's 4 units on each side, and then the manager's quarters right in the middle. And then so we use that, we turn that into like a space. There is a bedroom, 2 bathrooms in there, but that's where there is some gathering space. So people from the other rooms could come and hang out in there if it's a rainy day or something like that. We also put a pickleball court, sauna, hot tub. So really trying to make it more of like an experience. And again, when you look in that area, there's not a lot of properties that can sleep that many people. And I'll also say personal preference. When I travel with friends, family, I technically do like multi-unit properties. We always try to look for them first. That way we have 3 kids. If things get a little out of hand, we can, hey, let's go back to our unit, or we need a little space from the rest of the group, we can kind of retreat back to our unit. So
Plus, the long term, the valuation on that will be based off of your income, your NOI, right? And the cap rate is if you're over 4 units, as opposed to, a lot of people think they can trade single family homes on rental income, and you can't yet. And it might maybe someday, but that's probably not going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years. So you said that you're over budget on time for renovation, and that happens. Especially when you're doing big stuff, that happens all the time. And you said I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at it, but I'll tell you right now, I've got a $3 million property sitting in Montana. Next week, I make my 8th mortgage payment, and that thing still don't have a
ah,
permit for it. That's cost me $167,000 in mortgage payments with no income coming off of it. So it happens to all of us, unfortunately. And so, how far past your initial deadline are you? And then how far away are you from completion? Because I think this is something that there's so many people, Tony, as you know, that want to do what you're doing, that want to do what I'm doing, and potentially pivot out of just doing short-term rentals, whether it's owning, managing, co-hosting, whatever, and get into the multi-unit space. But that's usually the biggest hang up. And how are you combating that if you're 2, 3, 4 months over with cash flow because you're paying mortgage?
So the good news is it's kind of been a rolling, so we've had units open, so it's not like we're not bringing in any income, but we're really hanging our hat on that big property buyout. So that's where it's really costing us. But even last month, I mean, again, we took a little bit of a risk in a new area too. So last month we thought was pretty good. I mean, we did $5,500 with half the rooms being open. And again, the purchase price was 396. So I mean, it's not like we're spending millions of dollars on this. The rehab's going to cost double that, right? By the time we're done, we're going to be
Did you
closer to like
finance the
7.
whole 396? What is the structure of the deal, I guess? Because people don't understand how to structure deals on, acquisitions like this.
Tough part about boutique motels is like I think banks' appetite for those aren't what they are on a single family home. So we had to leave 35% in. So we're gonna have 425 mortgage by the time we're done with the rehab. And then they're financing, again, 30, I think it's 750, and they're gonna finance 35%, including some of the rehab.
So
And then
basically on the 396, you did 65% LTV, 35% down. How much was your construction?
so we're gonna end up at like seven and a quarter, 750 altogether.
So let's say 750, and that's rolled into your loan, right? So they'll do the ARV based on future appraisal. Did you get any type of IO period, interest only period on this to stabilize?
6 months,
So
which isn't much.
right, you typically wanna try to get 12 if you can, maybe 18. We're negotiating right now, we asked for 12, so I'm under contract for a 14-room, hotel right off the French Quarter, in New Orleans with Kenny Bedwell, and for the first time ever, we're taking on investors. We're oversold on the investment for that, and, so we went in and we estimated 4 months on construction, new roof, basically gut everything, and we're still negotiating the terms, but we want 12 months we're asking 12 to 16 months for the IO period. I doubt we'll get that long, but we'll probably get 9 to 12 months, which should be fine. The other thing, like you said you're putting in 750, we're doing $800,000 in construction on a $1.5 million acquisition. So we're talking 40%. You're 200% on your construction budget over the acquisition, right? That would never happen and get that finance in a single family home. And I think people don't understand, even though the appetite's not as strong, there is a lot more flexibility in the loan types to get that stuff done on a multi unit.
Yeah, and I'll say one of the biggest cautions I can say with, when we're talking about going over the construction deadline. So all of what we do is currently Southwest Michigan. I mean, we're 90 minutes from Chicago, 60 minutes from Kalamazoo, 90 minutes from Grand Rapids, some pretty big areas, right? And they're still fairly populated. We decided to go way up north, out in the middle of nowhere, population 2,000. It has been the biggest challenge isn't that, "Oh, we have people and we're finding new stuff that, that's gone wrong." It's getting people to show up, finding contractors. I mean, you're talking about, like, established, heating and plumbing companies that you're calling and begging on the phone, like, "Guys, we have pictures coming, at this point, and you said you'd be here yesterday, and, like, when can we get you on site?" So that's been the biggest challenge. I think, love the project. I think it's gonna go really well. I think, I would really wanna be closer to, major kind of metro areas where we could really tap into some of that labor.
That's always the biggest concern when you don't have that populace around there. I mean, that HVAC guy is so busy because he's probably the only guy within 30 or 40 miles. And people from the towns that are 50 miles away have so much business, they're not going to drive to those remote locations, right? So has that really been what the hang up has been from the construction side?
100%, and it's across the board, whether it's, again, HVAC or electrical or, plumbing, whatever it is, it's been a real challenge to get people on site and, get it taken care of.
And what are you thinking now? I mean, we're in coming up to the beginning of March when we record this, middle of March, probably when it goes out. Do you think you'll be done in a month, 2 months? What's your timeline? Will you be ready for summer?
320 is the goal, and what I'm being told is, like, we're on track for hitting that. So, I think we'll be good. The good thing about, again, kind of what we're doing is why I love these multi-unit properties is they're just so versatile. Like, yeah, we're not completely open, but we're still bringing it. We have somebody staying there. today, this weekend, we have plenty of bookings still coming in. And even on some of those multi units in Southwest Michigan, it's like summer peak, big bookings, off season, you can rent them out as a whole still or midterm rentals. Even up here in the Grayling, Michigan area, there's certain things where people are coming for training, and there's a police academy and all that stuff. So great midterm options. So again, just the versatility on these smaller to mid-size multi-unit properties is what I'm bullish on.
I think you are 100% correct. The one thing that I look at when I'm evaluating these properties that are going to have a lengthy period of construction is I want to set myself up to be in a position that you're in to where I can actually execute construction maybe on one half. So I'm looking at room configuration and I'm thinking about the construction period, right? Where I think a lot of people don't think about that because if everything is like all on one floor and consolidated, you're not going to be able to rent and do construction at the same time, or you're going to have to do it from like 9 to 5 when people are not in the rooms. And I think that's one big component that a lot of people don't think about when they go to underwrite, a new property like that.
And I think, again, I've been to some that have been in renovation, and I think there's always kind of that risk too of like if you're fully open and just how you're doing it, are you going to get bad reviews because there's like so much going on right around the guests? So that's something you always have to balance with being partially open. Again, ours is like split perfectly in the middle, so we can work on one side and then on the other side, and that's exactly how we've done it. So hasn't been an issue.
So, is anything changing from your property management, like tech stack, operations? Are you going to have somebody on site? Are you moving from guesty or owner res to cloud beds? What are you doing in the setup process for ops when you're ready?
So that's also been the biggest challenge. I mean, we thought, "Hey, we got it down. We're doing it." We took your advice, owner res and that kind of stuff on the property management side has worked great for the multi-unit, 5 unit. There's some things that I don't think they can do from the hotel. I was just looking because I'm a little frustrated just with the whole process and learning, new stuff. But currently we're using cloud beds and you have to get on booking.com, Expedia, all those types of sites. So really figuring out how to do all that together. And we are completely remote. Like our nearest person is 2 hours away. So really relying on operating it remotely. And yeah, the tech stack learning curve has been a little bit lot steeper than I anticipated.
We're going with cloud beds for our hotel. It's going to be it's a completely different setup than managing, a 5 bedroom house. There's no question. Probably switching from Schlagen code to Yale locks, just making a lot of things I've never wanted to. I've standardized all that stuff in my own portfolio and my hosted portfolio, but now it's going to be a whole nother thing. And that's when I said, what, I'm not dealing with any of that once we're done. Somebody else has to manage that stuff because it's a different animal. And there's too many opportunities for hotel rooms, from the tech, from Hotel Tonight, hotels.com, like you said, book. Like I would never put a single family home on booking.com, but it's a must, for hotels or motels.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard horror stories of people putting their single family home on booking.com and like just the challenges that kind of went along with that. So I've always kind of steered away from it on a single family home, but in the motel space, you have to. And as soon as we turn that on, like night number one, booking come in, you're like, hey, this is magic. Love it. So you do have to be on there.
It's interesting when you get into this type of a space and you live off of one night bookings, right? And you'll still get plenty of 2, 3, 4 nights, I'm sure. Why do we go back to our single family homes and do 3 night minimums, 4 night minimums, 7 night minimums? Because the reality is I believe the best revenue manager in this industry is Emil Sekel at Pricing by Mira. And, he was the one, and he's an OG in my mastermind. I've known him, I've taught him everything I can, but he's like, if I don't know if you're a Star Wars guy, but when the young Padawan surpasses the Jedi,
Okay.
Luke Skywalker becomes stronger than Obi-Wan. And I'll never forget, it was April 6th of last year. And he's like, we have my inner circle in person, one of our meetings here in Nashville, and he's presenting, and he used me as an example. And I mean, it's middle of April, and I still have availability at my super properties, in May, in June, I'm on 7 night minimums. And he's like, if Bill would switch to his 3-2-1 strategy, which I've made public, sooner, or go to 2-night minimums and then raise 20 to 30% and shock the algorithm, then he'll raise in the ranking and be able to charge more. And I'm like, you're crazy. And then he told everybody, anybody that's sitting in this room, we had like 200 members in the room that has openings with it between now and the next 10 to 14 days, move Sunday through Thursday to 1-night minimums. Don't lower pricing, don't do anything else. And I don't know how many in the room did it, but then we took a poll the next morning. I did it for 2 properties and got 3 bookings for 2. It was either 2 or 3 properties I did. And I just walked up and said, hey, I did it. I got bookings. Who else did it? And like 17, 18 people start raising their hands. Yes, we got bookings. We did the 1-night minimums. And I wonder if people will really catch on in the single family home space and start taking 1-night minimums. So I've got 2 properties that I partnered with as a co-host. So I own 20% of them in the Outer Banks, and then I co-host them. They're going to do 1.1 million combined between the 2 properties in revenue. And in January and February, the 2 properties, I think we did 16, 17, or 18 one-night stays. And these are 6-bedroom, 6-bath beachfront properties that sleep 20 people, one-night stays in the off season. So Emil had those 2 properties at like almost 81% occupancy combined. And we are like 37 to 40% above the next highest property for 6-bedroom, 6 baths in that market. So it's about the occupancy, right? And that's what you see with these smaller hotels, the single rooms, the combos, is that your occupancies are probably going to be 90% plus once you get up and running. And that's going to directly correlate to more revenue and margin for you.
Yeah. So who do you see coming for the 1-night minimum on the 6 bedrooms? Is it people traveling and they're traveling with a big group and they just need a place like halfway between, or is it
I
just
mean,
like,
yeah, there's travelers and that type of stuff, but it's not the 20 passengers. It's the couple that sees it and, oh my gosh, you know what? Hey, this other 4-bedroom is 800, but we can get this for 1,000, and it's a mansion and it's nicer. Let's just spend the extra couple $100 and go. Or they have the family, or sometimes it's much smaller groups, and people think you have to lock off your doors and do all this different type of stuff. It's really just making it a 1-night minimum. And 2 years ago at the STR Wealth Conference, when Sean Raskovich was there, I guess it was the first one, because he didn't come back. I didn't have him back the next one, and he was back this year. And he was really the first person, and I remember backstage, he was doing all 1-night minimums. Now, he's in arbitrage, and he does mostly studios and apartments and stuff, but he has some 2 and 3 bedrooms. And I remember asking him, "Do you do the same thing for your 2 and 3 bedrooms?" And he said, "Yes." And it kinda just blew right over my head. Didn't pay, "Hey, you know what? I'm the super property guy. I don't do that. I'm maxing out these 5, 6, 7-night minimums." But now every one of my properties, regardless of location, regardless of size, like that 1-night minimum inside the last 14 days is a strategy I do every Sunday that Emil has taught me. And I shouldn't even say that he's taught me. He has educated me and forced me to do it. And once I tested it, then I saw the results. But most people, Tony, just have this closed mindset. No, you can't do that. This is the way it's always done in my market. So I've got to follow suit with the way that everybody else does.
yeah, we manage one in an HOA that the 7-day minimum requirement, and then you can't take any bookings within 10 days. And I'm like, that is the ultimate,
Bookings
like,
within 10 days?
no bookings within
Wow.
10 days. So we have to file the stay at least 10 days out. Otherwise, you can't stay there. And it's like nobody is really coming to Southwest Michigan in the off season for a week-long stay. And it is extremely challenging to get that filled up. I mean, we've seen, like you said, I mean, people will pay almost the same amount of money for half the stay as they will for a 7-night stay. They just don't, they're not looking for a 7-night stay. They're looking for 4 nights, they're looking for 3 nights, and they'll pay a big premium on that.
So we turned those 2 Outer Banks properties were 7-night stays until January 1st. And we took, I think we had 3, 4, 5, $45,000 a week bookings. And then Emil turned it off. And then we went to 3-night minimums. But we jacked the ADR from like whatever it was, $6,500 a night to like $7,700 a night. And you're 100% correct. There's this cycle, and we got so many 2-night bookings because these people want it. Like, I think there's this subconscious of $5,000, $10,000. There's these round numbers, 15 grand, 20, and the big difference between 10 grand and 20 grand. Once you get into 12, 13, 17, psychologically, we don't think about it that much differently, right? So we tried to get these 2 nights, I think it's like 7,700 plus fees, plus whatever stays under like 19,000 bucks. And that's what we ended up that's what we're booking the shit out of in the Outer Banks, but we're increasing our profit margin by like 27% a night, which is the most important thing, and I think people aren't looking at it that way, in our industry, and that's the thing that I love. If I'm gonna put 100 grand or 500 grand into a property, single family homes are great, and they appreciate and do debt pay down, tax benefits, blah, 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 but when you can go in and you can get a 9 cap, a 10 cap on, the NOI, that's the big thing. So, what are you doing with the property management fee? Are you charging a property management fee on your 5 bedroom?
Yes, a small one. Again, we have a partner on that one, and so we're able to charge a small property management fee on
So,
that.
what do you like 10% or something?
Not even 10%. So we got a pretty much a sweetheart deal on that. We actually partnered with the old owner, and so we got 50-50. He left equity in, and then we said, "Hey, 5% property management fee." I mean, last year it did 213. Purchase price was like right around 585. So we really didn't have to put any capital into the project, and then we get some of that equity that was already left into the project as well.
So, one of the pro tips for those of you that are going to get into this for the first time is really focus on your NOI when you're underwriting the performas before you go to a bank, right? So, if you're going to have 200 or three, so let's say $300,000 in construction cost, and you believe that the property management fees are going to be 50,000 or 25,000, let's just say 50 in year number one, then roll that 50,000 into the construction budget. If you own the property by yourself, just pull that out at closing and then charge yourself no property management fee. If you have a partner, escrow that and just pay it out monthly out of the escrow. That way, if you get a 10 cap, you're going to get 10 times on that, when you go to do your NOI to reposition that property. These are the things I think are just a little bit different that we have to look at up front before we get in that we just don't think of in the single family home. So, Tony, what is next for you? We've got like 2 minutes left. Tell me what's next for Tony.
So really, we love the multi-unit, STR, and again, trying to find more boutique motels that kind of fit what we're looking for. Again, maybe closer to the lake, closer to some more densely populated areas. But we'd like to prove out this model with the 8 unit that we have, and see what we can do with that, and then buy more of them. I mean, we're already in talks with someone in Southwest Michigan area on another property, so really looking for that next multi-unit um, motel.
So outside of doing it closer because you're in a very remote area, what are the like 2 things that you'll do differently in the next deal?
Yeah, I think this one we went in a little aggressive just on the rehab project, right? We thought, oh hey, 2-3 months. Really, it was like floor paint and some electrical and all that stuff. So I think just give us a little more grace on like, hey, be more realistic. We're always kind of like, hey, gung ho, let's set the deadline for this. The other thing that we would do on that, I would probably go with a different property management software on it. Just initially having a few hangups on that, and someone recommended a good one before. I kind of ignored their advice and went with the wrong one.
And that was cloud beds? You don't like cloud beds?
So currently I'm having a hell of a time with cloud beds, to be honest. And it's the support's kind of tough. And then I actually went back and listened to a different podcast that we did with someone that just bought a motel too, and they said, "Hey, we're looking to actually switch that," because we asked them what their tech stack was. They said cloud beds. And he said,
So
"We're having a hell."
which one would you take a look at as opposed to cloud beds? Because I think that's kind of like the guesty and the owner res in our world, right? It's just the most known.
Yeah, Muse. Have you heard
Muse,
of
yeah.
Muse? So yeah, we know someone that's managing 2 motels in Wisconsin on that, and they swear by it. And everything they've recommended to me from branding and site setup and all that has been spot on. So if they recommended it so far, all the recommendations have been spot on. So,
That's
and I think
awesome.
pricing wise, I think it was relatively similar.
Right, right. So, Tony, what's the name of the hotel?
So it is called the Windmore Lodge. So Windmore Lodge.
And do you have a website yet?
We do. Went up mid-February last month, and as soon as it went up, started getting bookings on it, which was like, I mean, no better feeling than when you launch the site and you start getting direct bookings from the website.
Windmorelodge.com, is that it?
Yes.
Awesome. And how do people that are listening at home connect with you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Tony Stancato on LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me. We also have a Michigan-based podcast, Michigan Short-Term Rentals, so you can kind of follow along on the journey there.
Podcast, conference, you doing the conference again this year?
Doing the conference, we have a Michigan STR conference May 1st and 2nd, so right around the corner. Excited for that too. So yeah,
What's the
if you're in
website for
there,
that if they want to get tickets?
MichiganSTRconference.com,
In Grand Rapids again?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Awesome. Sweet. Tony, thanks for joining. I really appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you at the STR Wealth Conference.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy.